All right. My name is Anon. None of this is financial advice. I am not a qualified financial advisor. This is all for entertainment purposes. So just throwing that caveat out there. My mic should be on. Someone's in the room now. Let me go ahead and post a link inside the Discord and we'll get started. Hey, what's going on there? Evening. So I don't know how to say your name because it appears to be in some sort of Asian language. So you can tell it to me now or it's just the two of us. Well, yeah, it's a good way to start the week, man. How do I say your name? Well, it's just the two of us now. Today's the 25th, right? Let me make sure. Yes, 25th. Okay, we're okay. I'm good. Good evening. It's Korean. My name's Derek. Noobitubi. I like that. That's a good name. Oh, what's going on, guys? Let's see. No, it's not. Evening, Charles. Evening, Ola. There's that Aloha or Ola? It's Aloha, isn't it? Yeah, Aloha vibes. There we go. We got Rich in here. Yo, what's up, Mason? Tanner, what's going on? Transcendence. Hi, Roger. Andrew. What's going on, guys? Ready for the bots and the shills? I can smell them. If I'm going to do that, then I'll go ahead and get my scotch out and we can have fun. Anna, can you tell everyone why spoofing stopped at 3:30 p.m.? Wait, hold on. Now there's all these messages coming, so I got to back up. It's starting to home. Can you tell everyone why spoofing stopped at 3:30 p.m. and the price rose up? I mean, obviously spoofing was trying to keep it down. So here we are on today, and let's go to like a 1 minute. All right. So obviously everyone knows kind of today started out, everybody was doom and gloom. We went up a little bit, and then, we got bled down, and this is the zone I was talking to you guys about, and that, we were pretty close. DZ had basically calculated out that it was going to be 408, and it would go down maybe to like 393, which was a support. And then I also had mapped out where some of the moving averages were on the 1 hour, and said, it was possible that we would bounce off one of these moving averages, but we never even got down to that point. Actually, I take that back. We did. We hit one of these. It was that lower Bollinger Band, and then bounced up from there. Yeah. So anyway, we started the day off, and everybody was doom and gloom, and then we just down, and everyone's like, is this it? Or, is the play over? And then we covered a little bit, and we chopped around, and then we started slowly climbing. And then, we had a really strong finish to the day. I mean, it was clear that somebody, they had to buy. There was buying pressure coming in. So, I think that's something that everyone has to realize. If you watch only the price, you're going to get really nervous and you're going to get your mood. I don't trade off of the price. I trade, unless I'm like looking for an entry. I trade off of, okay, these are the facts. We know for a fact at this point that the shorts have not covered, or else the price would be like, $15, $20. We also know that at this point that the float is likely locked up. We know that, they're going to shake the tree as hard as they can. They want people to fall out. And that's why you have to just know that, like, okay, like, we did our research, we did our homework, we know what the actual truth is. Like, that, they're going to be like a magician. They're going to try to fool you in any which way they can to make you doubt what you're investing in. you got dealt a royal flush, and now they're telling you there's no way you're gonna actually win this, and you go, but I have a royal flush. There's like nothing that beats this, and yet you're still gonna be in question of is this am I doing the right thing? Like I'm telling you, like that happens all the time. So you have to be careful because these guys understand psychological warfare, and it's it's tough. Like it's tough to develop a thick skin and to watch your money just dwindling away and going, is this right? Is this guy right? Is this because I understand that, I hit my lowest point in GameStop right at $40. Oops, not GM. I just want to show you guys something. If I went to the daily, this point right here, I think it was right around like 40 something dollars. It dipped to like $38 on GameStop. And I had bought at 17 around here, and I had ridden it all the way up, and I actually bought shares pre-market for $500 and something, like $560 or something like that pre-market that day. And then the stock price went down. And I bought throughout this whole dip and dip and dip and dip, and I got down here to $40 a share, and I almost sold. Like, I was like, because the short interest was like going down, and I just didn't, I was sitting there, and I'm like, was my math wrong? Like, how could this have happened? And, at that point, I just said, I've dedicated a lot of time and money into this. I'm going to hold. And then it just randomly one day started running up to like $350, and it bounced off that. And then we came back up, and then, we went back down. But like, that's how it goes. Like, these plays are not for the the weak of heart. Like these are tough plays to hold on to. So, greetings from Virginia. Hey Wilma, Clint, what's going on? Josh, Nitro, Hayden, Andrew. Let me just start off by saying how much I appreciate you. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with me. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun coming down here and doing the stream with you guys. Wayne, Rob, Market Ninja, the ugly duckling turned badass, Yo Anon, what's up, dude? Big day for gATERs. What's going on, Anon? Bot checking in. Bring on the glowing eyes. Yeah, we haven't seen them recently, have we? Do you think they just gave up, or did we just block them all because they use the same accounts and our mods have been nicely blocking them? I'm gonna pour a little scotch, just not too much, but just a little bit. We had a good day, and Shameful, thank you so much, appreciate it. What's up, man? Jumanji, what's going on? Matt from Matt617 Boston, what's up, man? Appreciate. Thanks for saying that. Bots are losing their job at Twitter to troll Aterian. I don't know about that. So that sound in the background is me pouring scotch out of my barrel, my mini barrel. So hold on, there we go. That's a good pour. All right, put that down. I wonder if we crack 6 tomorrow. I mean, it's possible, Phil. We basically, the way we had it mapped out, at least. But I just want just to go back to this. I know what it's like to just watch literally hundreds of thousands of dollars melt away and then go, shit, did I do the right thing? So if it wasn't for my experience in some of these meme stocks earlier, yeah, I probably would have paper-handed Aterian long ago. But I learned something, and I learned a lot of things, from studying this stuff now for, years. But really in the last, that was a real wake up to deception and how the market actually works, because these are tough things. So anyone that's held through this and all of this down here, it's not easy going from here all the way down here and then remaining positive. Most people can't do that. So if you were one of those people that was hanging on, hanging on, hanging on. You went from basically 18 down to 2. That's a rough ride, and I feel you. And so hopefully you'll be rewarded with all this someday soon. But yeah, Phil, so we could crack 6 technically. It would be basically we hit the spring. If we come back up, we would then probably make an attempt at the recent high, which is the 726. And I could see that in like the next couple days. I don't know if we get there tomorrow. I mean, this thing can fly though, so it's possible we could have a day like this where you go up like $2 or something. So if we're at 5, we close at what, like 510, 511? Yeah, 511 right here. It's possible we get like a 70-cent day or something like that, or we'll have to see, because I know this is basically T plus 2, I think, from Friday's OPEX. So we could see another bit of buying pressure, and it also, we have to look at the options chains. I'll have to pull them up, but we'll do that. But yeah, it was a good healthy gain. It was a good bounce. That was basically our spring zone that DZ had mapped out, and a couple other people like Booksy and some other TA guys. They mapped out this somewhere in here was going to be the spring, and if you look, we bounced right off of it. So buy drunk, sell high. What's up, Gators? What's up, H2O? Or is it H20 or H? It's probably H2O. All right, let's see. Go Gators, Stock Talk, Market Ninja, slap that like. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I was going to say, I'm not going to ever be that guy that's going to be like, like and subscribe. All right, hopefully I won't be. I'll just, do my thing. And but yeah, if you guys want to do that, that's appreciated. Let's see. Free float on loan is 76%, but short interest is 42%. We have to assume they have additional 30%. So sometimes they use those for multiple different reasons. There are DC chargers or D chargers. They can use them as long positions basically, and then shuffle them off, like when they bid whack. Sometimes they use that. It's not technically shorting, because what they're doing is just rapidly shuffling off things to, or shares to basically flood the ass side all the way down. Like they're just basically, or they're whacking the bid. They're just making sure they get rid of these things as fast as they can, I should say. So in that case, what they do is, it doesn't matter what the price is. And you can always tell when they're doing it, because they literally don't care what the price is. And that's not how most sellers sell. Like most time when you sell something, you want to get the best price for it. When you see these guys bid whacking, they're literally just trying to shuffle these things off as fast as they can to drop the price as rapidly as possible. So they can use those longs sometimes like that. They can also use them to reset some FTDs and some other things. So like, it doesn't necessarily mean they actually have another like 34% to short, and especially with these borrow fees, that's going to get high. It looks like at this point they're actually using some in the money puts to try to drive down the price, because I think at this point it's gotten really expensive to borrow those shares, so it might even be cheaper to just buy in the money puts out, and then try to drive down the price. It's easy not to care about the price when you're dead inside. They spoof, they bid whack, drop the price, but I'm not smart enough to sell ever. Yeah, Keith, I'm with you. Massages Keith's legs. Wake up. Where did you take profit from GME? I'm actually still in GME. I still have my long shares. I did take some profits on options and then rolled them into other things. But eventually the options on GME became like really, really like scarce. Like in the beginning there were still spikes, but then it kind of died out. So they gained control of that. So I stopped playing options. I bought a couple like leaps and just like, I said, okay, well I'll do some MOS leaps on GME. But I'm holding the long shares because I think at this point, I bought them at like 17, 20, 30s, 40s. So I'm still profitable on them. So I'm just going to hold them, and I DRS them, and now I just hold them. But with Aterian, obviously, like I did the same thing. I told everyone, I think you should DRS. This is back when we were like getting down the twos, like in the fives and the twos. And I'm like, I don't want to sell down here, so I'm fine with DRSing my shares. And so I bought long calls that were like 6-7 months out. So ATXC, Anon, what's up, man? So GME's actually squeezed, or is it still ongoing? So I'm of the camp that I think that they basically have to. They've got a lot of. All right. I know a lot of people have asked me about this before, and I'll just put it to you this way. My theory about GameStop is different than other people's theories, and it's not because like I'm some sort of like I just see things a little more, I think, realistically, which is the people that are in charge, the DTCC, these large institutions, they have no interest in seeing MOAS happening. There may be a version of it, but I don't see the millions of dollars per share like some people do. I don't think that's something that they would ever allow to happen. I think you might have been able to get it up to like $800, maybe $1,000 a share at some point. But now what they're doing is I think they're going to do what they did with Tesla, which was Tesla had a large amount of naked shorting on it. And that was proven. Like the shorts had just pushed down on Tesla when they were first starting out, and then they got kind of like greedy, and they were really trying to just get it done, and Tesla just kept bucking it. And Elon would issue like every time the shorts had a cover, he would issue out like ATMs, raise more cash, push and that's how he basically ran the company. It diluted, but at the same time he was raising tons of cash and he was growing, and then he kept coming out with these bold statements, over promising things, and it didn't matter because people loved him. And love it or hate it, I've been in Tesla for a long time, and I held my shares through all that. But what they ended up doing was, at some point, you can't let everyone know that there was naked shorting. So what they do is they actually, make the shorts cover in waves, and basically Elon would just, issue, ATMs, raise cash, and then grow the business. And then they become a real company that actually has tons of cash at their disposal at all times. That's kind of what I see for GME and maybe AMC someday, because AMC's worse off on their balance sheet than GameStop. But GameStop at this point, they're going to try to find some, viable, thing that they're going to try to do, probably with the NFT marketplace, or, they're going to figure out a niche with that amount of cash that they have, which is like, over $1 billion cash. They're going to figure something out. They're going to hire people and say, okay, how do we make something that everyone's going to want in the future? And I think Ryan Cohen's a smart guy, and I think that executive team is pretty smart, and I think they'll figure something out. Yeah, of course their business model was dying, but at the same time, I think they will become a real company again that has revenue coming in. Like they have it right now, but I'm saying like they will be a profitable company in the future, and they will probably grow from there. And that's kind of my thesis is, I don't think they can admit that they screwed up, because if they do, then there's going to be tons of lawsuits across the board, because this exposed naked shorting across the market. And that's something that is still ongoing. But with small caps, they don't normally pay attention, because obviously, like, look at us. Like, we're a tiny small cap. 3-4 weeks ago, we had a market cap of like 120 or something like that. It was gross, and that's not how it should be. So, but yeah. So in my opinion, GME has not technically squoze. They just won't ever admit it. So what they'll do is they'll do a version of it like Tesla. They'll just allow the company to grow organically, make shorts cover over a period of time, basically raising more money, and then it will become a regular big company again. And obviously that's my own opinion, and that's not everyone's opinion. And that's not me presenting FUD or anything. I just look at them like, I bought these shares when they were really low, and I'm going to hold on to them for a long period of time, and I have no intention of selling. So if I get MOAS, great. If I don't, then I'll take that version of it where my shares are still more valuable in the future than they are now. I got patience and time. Shorts don't. Thanks for your input. Thanks, man. No, it's Stock Talk. Jonathan Robert. What's up, Anon? What's going on? HG Trading. I want LeBron. Yeah, where are our bots, by the way? I know I'm probably far behind, but what's your outlook in the next few weeks? I mean, I think up. I think it's not going to be a straight line up. Like, this was pretty unrealistic to maintain. Like, you don't usually just have this forever. Like, no stock goes straight up. Like, even when we had this here, there were dips and stuff like that, you know. So no stock usually goes straight up. You have, you know, a bunch of buying pressure. You're going to have some dips, some selling. You can't maintain this forever, you know, going in a straight line. So this is normal. And if you look at like Elliott waves and some other, you know, different theories, like you never move up in one, you know, move. You'll go up, come down, you know, establish a little bit more, bounce off a spring, and then head back up. So that's kind of what I see. Keep calm and buy ATER, not financial advice. Like the stream up, guys. Thanks. Yeah, the 408 was on point. I bought 1,500 shares and hit it, and then as soon as I did, lift off. Yeah, I was going to say DZ had that pretty close. I think we hit 405 today, if I remember correctly. Let me just see what the low of today was. I think it was 405. So he was like 3 cents off. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah, 405 right there. So DZ did an awesome job with nailing that right on the money. So hopefully we'll get DZ on here again. I know he's flying right now. I think he's coming back from a bachelor party, but in California. But it was great doing a thing with him. And you know, I think in the future, hopefully he'll be able to join me for more of these live streams. And I think, you know, there's plenty of people in the Discord who are super valuable members, and everyone kind of, you know, is finding their own role. And let's see. Imagine how shitty you would feel if you sold at 7 and it goes to 80. I remember that feeling. I remember that every time I'm feeling up $1,000. Yeah. So quick story. My buddy, he tends to be a little bit like, you know, more cautious trader. He entered GameStop at like 17 or maybe it was 20 or whatever it was, and I think he sold at like 30 or 35. He was like, "Yeah, I made like 40%." Then it ran to like 600 a share, and he was like, but he, you know, then he chased, and then, you know, he didn't get, you know, I was like, just next time, just buy the dips. Don't worry about trying to maximize each swing, because like if you miss on a swing, then, you know, if you're not super careful about what you're doing, you can miss, and then things can take off. Like if you were trying to time this out and you thought there was going to be a little bit more downside, and then it just never took off, you know, it just took off and it never came back. If you sold down here thinking that it was going to take another leg down into this like loading zone, you could have gotten left behind. And then by the time you bought back in, it might have been like here-ish, and now you got way worse of a cost basis than when you had before. So I'm just throwing it out there, yeah, but you don't usually want to do that where you sell for 20% gain on a squeeze stock that could run at any time. Did they run out of money for bots? I mean, it's possible. Where's the Michael Jordan bot? Yeah. Surprised on how beautiful today was, but fully prepared. The next push-up, inverse head and shoulders. We could move down to 4-7 or so. I mean, it's possible. Like, let's look at the daily. Yeah, I mean, like, so right now, there's not enough here to determine what's the next thing. So if we did bounce here, head back up, you know, does it keep going up in this one, you know, like into the 8s and stuff like that? You know, is there going to be another wave to pull back on? Yeah, it could be. And so, you know, the question is how much, I can't move it up that much, but at this point, shorts have not covered. And until we see short interest, excuse me, going down, I don't have any interest in, you know, I think this company is going to be worth a lot more in the future. And so at that point, my thesis is that I'm not selling here. I think the stock's more valuable than down here. So, or even here. So I will just keep holding on, and that's what it is. Can you explain how over 70% of the float gets shorted? So technically the 70% of the short is not floated. 70% of the float is borrowed. 42%, if I remember the Ortex data off the top of my head, about like 42, 43% of the float is actually shorted. So at this point right now, there still is that other portion that are borrowed, but they are not actually being used actively as a short. So thanks for the daily DD. It's much appreciated. Borrowed. Dan, thank you so much. I miss the bots. me too, Dan. I really appreciate that, though. Somebody asked Mr. Sweeney Todd. So in this regard, buying the deep in the money calls, if you buy 5 calls, but it's in the money, but tomorrow it dips into the 5, it's out of the money. So it's safest to get 250s and hold. Yeah, so I'll just give you this general advice. That's not it's not advice. It's just market mechanics. So with a stock that's this volatile, right? So last week everybody was excited. Like, we started the week out. I think it was on the 18th, wasn't it? Like, so here's the 18th right here. So we started the week here, and by Tuesday it spiked all the way up to 726. So people started buying like 750s, 10s, and they stopped buying the ones that were safest, which is how we, when people were loading up 2s and 250s and, 1s and, even some like 3s and 4s, they were all really close to the money. Well, people stopped doing it when we had last week, and that's how we ended up down here, was because everyone had all their money invested higher up the chain, and nobody was actually making sure that their stuff was safe. And I made a mistake last week too. I had some 750s that ended up expiring worthless, and it does not feel good. Because my eyes got too big because I bought those, I think, right here, and then that next week, I was going to be like, all right, so once it goes in the money, I'll roll those, and I never got to roll them because I was waiting for them to go in the money, and I missed it. So now I'm going to play things a lot more cautiously because obviously I messed that up. So in this case, what I'm thinking about is if we're sitting here at the this point right here at 5. I think 3s and 350s are probably pretty safe, or like a 250 would be even safer. But like, if I'm going to play an out of the money call, at this point I would think 5. They're going to try to drop it down again by the end of the week. I can tell you that now. Like, max pain at this point right now is at 450 or 5. They're going to go for it again. They do not want to end up with another week where they got burned this week, they got burned this week. They made their max pain this week. So they're going to go for it again, is my guess. So we're going to see what ends up happening. And that's not me. Like, I've known this market maker for a long time. I've watched them. They're not used to losing. So they did not like this, and they did not like this. That was like the first 2 times in months that I've seen them actually miss max pain. So, of course, when people started getting, a little ideas of grandeur and not watching what they were doing, they were able to quickly, knock it down and then get it into this down channel. And then, I think they were really trying to go for it today, just knock the price down. And they couldn't get it because there was too much buying pressure. It wasn't a ton of volume, but at the same time, there was enough volume that you could tell there was people willing to slap the ask and go for it, and people were buying some deep in the money contracts, which is great, and that's how you end up generating some buy pressures, because if you can't trade through IEX, which is a type of routing, or one of those routings that actually hits a lit exchange, then your other options, if you want to make a market maker be accountable, is you basically buy a deep in the money call, or you buy a bullish put. So all right, so yeah, but thanks again, Dan. Thanks again, Dave Webb. Thanks. Let's hit this retrace running and ready our ammo for Friday. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, they're not going to take this. They're not going to lay down just because they had we had a nice little rally today. They're going to go for it. But yeah, the 70% borrowed is not technically. They're borrowing it, but they're not shorting all of it. So I sent you an email of Room Schwab. How does a broker get away with not providing you shares and liquidity? So Yeah, I did see that, Wilma. I Let me pull up that if I can. I'm sorry. I get a lot of messages each day, so I am trying to figure out. Let me see. Okay. I won't pull up your thing in front of everybody, but let's see. So your thing says Charles Schwab's exercise options exercised. Our record indicate that 2 contracts of $3 calls have been exercised. Then it says, please review your account to determine if you have enough equity to support these options. Okay. So as long as you have the cash for them, you should be fine. And I see you highlighted the thing that says, thanks for the opportunity to serve you. While acquiring the stock through exercise, you may appear to be an acceptable process for retaining value. It also may present a significant risk to the investor. I don't quite. Hold on. Let me. As long as you had the money for those options, you should be issued them, and they should be in your account. I don't see anything there that says anything that you don't have those. Maybe you meant to send another thing. Okay, hit me up on DM after this, and we'll go over that. But all right, let's move on. What's up, fam? So I'm chewing a jelly bean for a second. I stole some of my kids' Easter candy. It's okay. My daughter told me I could have some. She doesn't like these. We got these jelly beans. They were like on sale. We put them in the kids' things, and she ate one. And she was like, "Daddy, you can have these." They are pretty gross, to be honest with you. All right. Hang on. Somebody was suggesting or comparing ATER GME using the previous methods of calculating short interest, and then they would be much more closely comparable. Can you elaborate on this? Yeah. So if I remember correctly, this is just off the top of my head. I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but they changed how they calculate short interest. If I remember off the top of my head. Basically, it's a mathematical formula, and it's supposed to quote unquote be a better way of gauging. I don't know if it actually is or not. I think they made it so people don't like look at that and go, "Holy crap, we need to buy into this." I think it's basically like you can't have like 140% short anymore. That's like up to 100. But if you use the old system, then ATER would be a higher like squeeze basically, or a higher free float percentage. It might be like 80% right now versus the 40 that we're seeing. But I'd have to look at the equations and crunch the numbers and see what they look like. But that's how you would basically, they might be a little more comparable. Because I think, if I remember correctly, GME was like 140% of the free float was shorted. And I think institutional ownership was like 120%. So GameStop was a little bit different, obviously, because Aterian doesn't have high institutional ownership. It's more in that sense that like AMC, where it's much more retail centric that owns the stock, which is also why I think they're able to kind of mess around a little bit more, because all these shares that they're coming out here are coming from multiple different brokerages, and I think that makes it really hard for the SEC to track, because it's coming from so many different other places instead of just one institution, or 20 institutions lending out these shares. It's actually coming from like literally tens of thousands of people's individual accounts. And so the SEC, because they're not literally like able to look at everything. Now, I will tell you this. I actually got a phone call back from the SEC finally. And I did speak to a woman, and we have started emailing back and forth, and I sent her off some information, for them. She said that they can't discuss anything with the stock right now, and she can't, basically clarify if they are under investigation or not. They just have to, but she basically said, I can't talk to you about any of that stuff. I can just answer generalized questions. So I asked her some generalized questions, and I'm going to submit a bunch of stuff over to them. So, but the SEC finally did at least call me back. So it may take a while, but they do get back to you. And she seemed to be very familiar with the stock. Okay. Thanks for helping me stay the course with your DD and streams. I would have bailed a week ago. It's my rookie showing. Yeah, you're fine, Paul. There's a lot of people that are not used to this, and trust me, it's stressful. Like, we have people that have been with us a long time that finally turn green, and watching their accounts go red again was tough, like super, super tough for them, because they waited so long for it to finally be green. Many of them averaged down over months, and they finally saw this glimpse of light, and it seemed like, it was just wiped away from them. And guess what? We had a decent bounce back day, and we'll see more green in the future. And honestly, if, I'm not telling you guys what to do with your money, you guys invest however you want. But from what I've seen, the numbers don't add up. And when the numbers don't add up, like they didn't on GameStop and they didn't on, when AMC was about to run, there was just too many things that were like, there was too many deep in the money calls. There was too many, the option chains was completely loaded up. Like, that's how it's going to end up being, I think, by May 20th is my guess. Because you can already see that May 20th has a ton of open interest. And if the earnings report comes out and the earning is on like the 4th or the 5th, you're looking at a potentially explode. And honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, if Aterian has the best earnings ever, they're going to short the hell out of it. They're going to save a lot of ammo for that day, no matter what happens. Aterian could be, absolutely, the best earnings ever for them. They'll short the hell out of it, assuming retail thinks that, And if you're part of our Discord, we'll go over all this stuff, and we'll look at the good, bad, and the ugly, and that's how we do things in there. Like, I've reviewed, I think, 3 earnings with the group, and we cover what everything means fundamentally inside the Discord. So anyone that's been around us for a long time knows that we don't try to sugarcoat things. We're just going to look at it. But here's the truth: at this point right now, it doesn't matter. Like, earnings could be great, earnings could be bad. These guys are in trouble as far as, like, they have FTDs piling up to wazoo, and I mean, I'm just following the data, and the data says that they don't have all the shares that they sold, in my uneducated retail opinion. So, somebody said 2 months ago we had a dead subreddit. Only BC Trader and Patat French were posting every day. Yeah, I do remember BC Trader. Whatever happened to that guy? He was part of our Discord for like 2 days, and then he left. And I always said that I imagined him like writing his DDs, but with like a Randy Macho Man Savage voice, like, "Oh yeah, you shut my alpha, you beta shorts don't know anything but my alpha." Like, that's how I pictured him writing his DDs, and that was the voice I used when I read them. Anon is my new gym soundtrack. All right, quick question. What the heck happened to ATER? It went back up, Bloxy. It went back up, and it's gonna go back up again at some point, and then it will go down again, and it will go back up again. And that's the stock market. All right, so when do FTDs come out? They should come out at the end of the week. So it's supposed to be the end of the month and the 15th are when the FTDs come out. So FTDs, for anyone that's not in the know, FTDs are failure to delivers. It's when one side of a trade fails to deliver their obligation to the other side. So if you buy stock through your broker and your broker does not have your stock within T+3, they are considered in failure to deliver mode. If you are shorting a stock and you do not locate shares, and by the time that you are supposed to locate your shares, you don't have them, that is also a failure to deliver. And that can happen all sorts of different ways, but those are the two most common. But once you have a certain amount of stock, basically not where their shares are not where they're supposed to be, at, I think it's like over 5% or 10,000 of the I think it's 10,000 or over 5% of their float is not locatable. That's when you go onto Reg Show. And we've been on Reg Show now, I think, like since the 12th, I think somebody told me. Someone said that I may have had my math wrong, which is possible. I can't remember exactly what day we went on. I couldn't remember if it was this day or this day. But if it was really the 12th, oops, I messed up my... There we go. I guess I put it there. So to get onto Reg Show, you have to be in like that status of like basically like you're 10,000 shares or 5% of your float, whichever is you have to be on that for 5 days straight. So if the 12th right here was the first day they were on it, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5th would have been the day that they all of a sudden had a huge problem with failure to delivers. So this was the initial spike day. This was another high volume day. That means that this is when they got in trouble on the FTDs. So now you have the 12th was first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, which is so maybe it's if this is the day, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So here's the 12th. That means then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, so today's 8. So I was off by 1 day. It should be 8. So we are on Reg Show 8 going into 9 tomorrow. So just finished at the gym. What are you training? All right, we're having some good gym talk in here too. Gatorade. What's up, Gator fam? What's up, Tanner? Character looking really impressed, saying, "Whoa." We have 152 viewers and we have 61 likes is what Just Investor. Thanks, Just Investor. This may be a dumb question, but what stops them from covering a little then shorting more? Nothing. I mean, you can cover some, and that's what they do every day. If you actually notice, usually they don't. What they're looking to do is this: they want to shake out retail or even institutions, and they want to basically cover when they're selling. So ideally what they'd like to do is this. They've tried to shake the tree on these days right here, low volume, and they want to get retail and people like that out. As they're selling, they will start buying the stuff and then reshorting the stuff back down. That's what they're aiming for. They want to get these days where these are more days than last. So like look at this. When they were in these downward days, right? I mean, look at these every single day, just bleeding. That's what they were doing. So they would cover some, and then they would just short more, and they would cover some, and they would just short more, and like it has a net downward, thing. And then the retail will start selling in waves. They're like, I can't take this anymore. All the stock does is bleed, and it's true. Back then it was. So there's nothing that stops them from doing that. But what ends up happening net is they get down here to this level, and if there's any sort of interest in the stock, it will explode the other way. And so now they're trapped, and this is what I mean by this. I think some institution came in here, and that first high volume day, they trapped the shorts because a lot of these shorts had been shorting, and somebody set up basically a trap for them. They went all the way down here. They were going to go back down and push it down. This is a Friday, and then these guys came in on a Monday and just absolutely just ran the stock up. And that trapped all these shorts that had been shorting all here down the 2s and 3s. Now they're stuck in this. So, slapping that like harder. Thanks. Let's see. What's the cost to borrow right now? I think the cost to borrow is, let's see, I think I had it up here. $124.97, if that's right. Let's see. Yeah, so 124% right now. That's pretty high. So that's why they're probably using deep in the money puts right now. Might be cheaper. Yeah, the Ortex one is showing like 270%, and the max is like 300 something. But I'm going off the Fintel. Fintel's numbers tend to be a little bit more, I guess conservative. But I think GME will squeeze from the dividends. Yeah, so I don't know if it will go through the dividends, but I know the stock split is going to be very good for GameStop because it's going to make GameStop shares more affordable for retail investors. Because right now retail can't afford as much. When a stock is like where we are, $5 a share, that's very affordable. Retail can afford hundreds of these shares at a time, if not thousands or even millions. And we have a couple of people that have literally hundreds of thousands, and one person that I now know apparently has 1 million something. So, yeah. There are some retail whales that are in on this. But yeah, I was going to say, I think the stock split will be a catalyst for GameStop. Does it help them to cover with out-of-the-money calls? Well, they do that. If you actually look at, let me see. I have to pull up an option. Give me a second. I've got to do some screenshots. So if I'm in the middle of my thing, so that's decent. Normally I'm sitting there pinned at the back, so I know I'm probably about 20, 30 minutes behind, but I'm going as fast as I can, but I got to pull out now this, and it's going to take me even longer. So let me pull up an option chain and we'll go over this week's, but I can show you guys what I was talking about, or maybe I should do the 20th of May, because I think that's where I spotted something that looks like it's probably either a market maker or a shorts. Here we go. Their insurance. And this isn't, like, I'm guessing on this. It was just a very, very large order that was placed, and normally retail doesn't have that kind of cash. So that to me looks like it was some sort of smart money that bought those, like, out of the money $10 and $750s. Let me see. All right, let me just put ATER 225 May 20th. Okay. I'm not going to do all the painting on this right now. I just want to show you guys this real quick. So you see right here at 750, there's basically like 4.2 million shares as of today. And down here at, I think it was like 1250, they have another like 600, what was that? Let me make sure that's right. Let me pull up the calculator. Here's one. I'm just gonna do the math on this real quick, so I don't want to give anyone bunk information. Let's see. So if we have 4, 2, it should be 8. Yeah, so this right here is about 4.2 million shares. And that means that at 10, they have... Oops. I think something went wrong. Hold on. Let me try that one more time. Yeah, so another 3 million shares there at 10. And then at 12, another, 6 million? No, not that many. 600,000, is that right now? Let's see. 6. Yeah, 641 at 12. But mainly these two right here. This one and this one. Right there, that's a good amount of shares. And so what I think they might have done is, as an insurance policy, the smart money basically said, we're going to go ahead and make sure we've got an area that we can start covering shares at. Let me get out of this part real quick. So yeah, I mean, that's what a market maker or a short might do, is buy up those and then do that. Wow. Kenny, thank you so much. I was going to say Kenny's part of our Discord group, but thank you so much, Kenny. Good evening, brother. Thank you so much for your hard work from Brazil. Diamond Hands. Fun Size, Will, Gator. Oh, Green Mushroom's in it. What's up, man? He's a mod in our Discord. He also is a great artist. If you guys ever want to see his art, he's got some good stuff. Let's see. Whale Alert. Yeah, Kenny's in here. Kenny's our whale. Save your money for ATER. Yeah, as soon as I get this money, it will be going into Aterian. Don't worry. Yeah, ATER right now is number one on Fintel's short squeeze and gamma squeeze. I can pull that up for you guys if you want. Let me see. There we go. So right here, you've got short squeeze score. You've got 1 out of 5,400 companies. And then gamma squeeze, we are now number one also. So that's pretty good. That is not a bad thing to see. The ATER Gator. Yeah, so they just linked you guys I guess 30 minutes ago they linked the Discord stuff. DZ nailed it. Yeah, DZ is money man. That's right. He is the money man. He's going to be on a plane from San Francisco back to Oklahoma. All right, let's see. 4 hours, 13.40 EMA, about to cross over to the last time that crossed. It went from $2.50 to over $7. Now it's at $5 with a higher short interest and more borrowed shares. Let's fucking go. Yep. Indicators, man. I'm telling you, you guys, if you don't know them, you got to learn them, because you can see a lot of stuff. You know, if you start trading off those, you can see a lot of good stuff. I sold GME options for $5 for a couple grand profit. The next day it hit 20 a piece. I had 3. Yeah, I was sick. Yeah, it does not feel good when you do. I mean, think about even today. Like if you sold down here, or if you settled even like in this area, and then we ran up another like 50, 60 cents, like you're probably sitting there kicking yourself. And like, I mean, it happens. Like and sometimes you have to do like the logical things, and you know, I will not tell anyone how to trade, because obviously I am not perfect and I make mistakes too. And so for me, I just try to look at, like, I knew that we had the spring. I knew that we were going to head back up, and I know that at some point we're going to retest this high again. So I'm trying to make sure that, you know, for me, obviously I'm a directional swing trader. I'm going to look at this. And here's the thing, and this is something that DZ had talked about, and like, I think Trey got killed for it, even mentioning it. But something that does, and I want to be careful how I phrase this, because I think if you ever look at smart money and how they trade, and I don't want to be, one of those people that is accused of, playing both sides, because I don't. Like, I'm mainly long this stock, but it's a smart thing that a lot of these hedge funds and these smart money do, is they buy insurance policies that if things go sideways, they do not just get absolutely slaughtered. And that's the difference between retail and smart money. For smart money, they're protecting their money. And for retail, we typically just pick one side, and then if we end up screwing up, or we get screwed over, we get absolutely slaughtered. And so something I learned, a while ago is we can sit there and we can mitigate at least some of the losses by at least, putting some insurance up. It doesn't have to be a ton of it, but, you can stomach swings a lot better. If you had bought, for example, like even like a $7.50 or a $5 put up here, to match, if say you have 10 calls, if you had just bought like 2 puts up here, when you swung back down, you could have always sold those puts and then gone long and then, bought more shares with it. Like, you don't have to, you don't have to play it only one side. You can actually do, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, people get upset about that because they're like, well, you're slowing down the squeeze. But it's also for a lot of retail, if you if you were nervous and if this scared the crap out of you, you would have made money on that, and then you could have bought this dip down here with that put money and then bought more. I think that's what Trey was trying to say. I didn't ever see the video. I just heard he got absolutely murdered, and the fact that I'm even saying it, I know is not going to be super popular, but DZ and I had talked about it, and if you look at smart money and how they invest, they have long common shares. They usually buy calls, and then they also buy puts with it. And there's a reason for that. It's because they don't want to get caught in a situation where they get absolutely murdered if one side goes down. They're playing it to protect their money, and that's how I think more retail should kind of look at it. I'm definitely, I just want people to make sure that they're protecting themselves. And so you can stomach a swing like this if you have at least some, insurance policy to make sure that you are protecting from the downside. And it might keep you in the play longer because you're able to then take this money and then put it back into long. And then when you go even higher, you buy a $10 put. And then, if that swings down, you can, just keep this process going. I know people are going to probably murder me just like they did Trey on that, but I'm just telling you guys that's how smart money does it. And you don't have to do it, and I don't think that, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you that it might not be the worst idea. And, I'll see what your reactions are later. Let me see. I'm just going to scroll down and miss all this stuff. Yeah, preach retail needs to learn how to scale in and hedge. Yeah, I mean, I am not trying to make this a thing where I'm like, betraying the apes or betraying like our side. I just want you guys to make sure that you're protecting yourselves. And I think the smartest way to do that sometimes is to make sure that you're doing what the smart money does. And that is just making sure that even if 80% of your stuff is long, you at least have something in there to help you stomach some of those downswings. So, I mean, once again, you don't have to listen to anything I'm saying because, honestly, none of this is financial advice. It's all for, basically entertainment purposes because I don't have a license. I'm not supposed to tell you how to do that. I don't want to okay, so you guys aren't murdering me yet, so thank you for that. I'm just trying to help people place things smarter because I think in the long run, it's going to be easier for you to stomach some of those things. And I think DZ and I had talked about it, and I think that it was very smart for him to mention that because, all right, let me just make sure I get back to where I am. Okay. I miss Scotty Drippin. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the stock is undervalued. It has been for a while. I guess we need to slap the like button. That's what Justin Investor said. My pick on stock twits is Rasheed Wallace now with laser eyes. There's no mots anymore. What does that mean? It means that I guess I don't know. Either we banned them all and now they can't get in here. They could always create new accounts, or they're just not getting enough money to, come in here and troll, or they just realized that it was not being very effective because we thought it was funny. That is a possibility. They're like, okay, these guys are like basically like dead set in this. We need to go to places that, we can influence. I think there's a difference between people that are coming in here and listening to us, like, you, me, all of us talking, and someone that's listening to like, I don't want to throw any YouTubers under the bus. Let's just say anyone that's preaching day trading. Those guys will be the ones that actually listen to those things and be like, yeah, seven's the topic to go. And you might have a newer trader that goes on there and goes, oh, well, these guys all keep saying that this doesn't go any higher. If you come into our stuff, you guys have already read the DD for the most part. I don't think you stumble into this room and listen to me jabber on for, hours at a time about, long-winded, market stuff. Because honestly, I would think this is boring as crap, and I don't have anything fancy or fun to like show you on my screen. I'm not like amusing you with my face. So like you guys are the hardcore ones that are like willing to stick in here and obviously, listen to me jabber on and answer questions. But yeah, let's see. reverse psychology. The play's over because there's no bots. All right, so let's see. Reported interest. So exchange reported short interest comes out tomorrow morning. Do you think they covered a little bit since last report? Not much. Honestly, I don't think they covered much. Like, the estimates are actually higher now, so could they have covered a little bit? Sure, they could, but let's see. It was 9.28 million on April 11th. Your thoughts on ATER posts being deleted or ATER channels and Discord servers being deleted? So, I think Aterian is dangerous, and I think nobody wants this to be the next GameStop. That's my honest opinion. I think this is a black eye for the market, for those who are watching it and going, like, how did it get this bad again? Like, and it was slow, and it was over time. I mean, you had a stock that was bleeding down. It looked like they were going to go out of business. Like, they were pricing this thing to go out of business. Like, you don't go under current asset values if you're, unless you're liquidating. And they did that here, and that's super greedy. They basically were like, this stock has no volume. I mean, look at this volume. Like, for months, you had like a couple spikes here and there, but for the most part, you had like 1 million in volume every single day, and they were just going to run this thing into the ground. Even on like earnings beats, you had these tiny little upticks and then just back to 1 million shares traded a day. We were a tiny, small company that got forgotten about, and they were going to drive into the ground. And then, of course, they got greedy, and, somebody finally paid attention. And they trapped them, and now we're in this situation. And I think this is a black eye for the market, because this is not a good look to have 1 billion something shares traded on a stock that's had 100% utilization since right here. This is the day. Since this day right here, on the 8th, we have had over 1 billion shares traded. And really, most of them just came within this range right here. Like, on a 26 million share float. Like, that's 38 times the float. That's not normal. Like, that's not what normal small caps do. And that tells you everything you need to know right there, that something's screwed up here. And they're going to try to be like, oh, no, nothing's wrong. Like, something's wrong here. Like, when I was on the phone with the SEC today, and I talked to the woman, I was like, you realize that this is a very unusual thing to be trading that much volume on a stock that has 0 shares available, really. And she's like, you can't comment on any of this. And I'm like, yeah, of course you can't. So I'll submit my evidence, and we'll go from there. But yeah, like, it's coming. Like, something's not right here. Something stinks. And eventually something will come out. Maggie asks, what's the point of borrowing shares if not to short? So you can actually hold them long and then shuffle them off using bid whacking, which is when you shuffle off shares as fast as you can just to like lower the price. It's how you start a waterfall, or you spoof and then use that. So that would be one reason you would hold them long. Another reason might be to reset, like, some FTDs, or, just kick the can down the road, essentially. So there's a couple of different reasons why you can do it, but or just to hold ammo when it was cheaper. So if like they borrowed those shares when it was like 20%, now they're still holding them. If they have to borrow them again, they're paying 120% now. So sometimes it's better to just take all the ammo when it's going to go up in the future. So we got 213 people in here, and they said to smash the like. Okay, thank you. In shorting and borrowing, yep. Let's see. Is it better to sell $3 puts versus buy $3 calls in the money? So you have to look at the cost on it. And honestly, you would get a bigger premium if you were to do something that was closer to the money if you're selling puts. $3, honestly, at this point, let me just pull up the options chains that we had put on Paint real quick, and I can show you. This is for the 20th, I think. But this will at least give you a reference point. So if you were to sell a $3 put, right, you would click on this and go to sell. Right now, they're looking for 16 for it, 16 cents, or in that case, what is that, like $16? But if you're doing like a 461, you might get like $67 for it, because it's obviously closer to the price that we are right now, so it carries more risk. So if the stock was to drop to 350, you still have to buy them at, if we were doing like 450. So it's risk reward, but there's a thing to this though. If you think about it, and I just want you guys to like put this in your head. So say, for example, lots and lots of people were to go out and buy, pretend this is this week instead of the 20th. But if a lot of people were to hypothetically go out and buy, once again, this is all hypothetical. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, so please don't get this twisted. I'm trying to explain something, though, that I was thinking about today, and somebody had asked me about. They were like, well, is that kind of like, if they were to take this right here and say, this is where max pain is. I'm going to sell this put because I want these shares if it falls below this price. And I'm fine taking the premium. So if we end up $6 at the end of the week, then you would just collect the premium and they would not issue you those shares. But if the stock price was to go down further than this, you would be issued those shares at that strike price, and then anything else would be considered a loss. But you do get to keep your premium as well to help offset some of that. But here's the interesting thing, right? It almost creates a Sophie's Choice. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It was messed up, and I think it was Glenn or I don't remember, Glenn Close that was in that. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But basically, you've got to make a very difficult decision, and so in this case, you would have to either say, okay, I'm fine with the stock being over this, so I don't have to deal with hedging. If this goes down and say, for example, max pain is 450, so they push it down to 440. Now, all of a sudden, you now have to buy all or hedge all these shares that you have to deliver by next Tuesday. So that's the interesting thing, is like if somebody was to buy a whole bunch of these things right around max pain, the market maker has to make a choice then. Do I go ahead and keep the price above here, or if I do allow it to go underneath this, I'm going to have to owe a ton of shares. So it was just something I was thinking about, and somebody had asked me, so I just thought I'd share that. It's an interesting concept. I've never seen it actually go to work like that, but it was just something I was thinking about. How long a time frame do I look for in the money calls? Now, if I was looking at any other stock, if I was looking at like a non-squeeze stock, I would be probably looking 6 months out for the most part. But because these time frames are condensed, I have like $3.50 May calls, and I've sold some I think 4 and 450 puts for May also. So mine is condensed, because right now I think there's so much pressure that's built up that it's gonna probably blow by at some point, because this May options chain, they've got earnings right here, and if earnings beat for whatever reason, this thing's going parabolic. Because if institutions start buying, because institutions right now are not buying, but if institutions all of a sudden change their mind and start buying, these shorts are screwed. They're just going to cover as fast as they can, because the institutions will drive up the price, and they actually trade on the lit market. So what's in my watch list? I've got a bunch of things in my watch list, but we'll have to go over that some other time. We're mainly covering Aterian tonight. You can come inside the Discord, though, and I do call out some things sometimes. Let's see. I believe they just borrow shares, it jumps in, reaches crazy highs, and then use those shares to short. Yeah, because you get if you borrow those shares at 50%, knowing that down the line you're going to be, borrowing at 150%, of course you're going to just hold on to them. So that, yeah, weeklies are dangerous. Just throwing it out there. Weeklies are dangerous, and if you guys aren't used to options, don't play them. Learn your stuff before you jump into it. Don't do it just because everybody else in here is doing it. There's a lot of people in here who have a lot of experience with options, so you can still screw up when you've been doing options forever. And I did that last week, so They've already removed the money Friday. Now they're saying that they may not put in shares in my account. Okay, that's what Wilma was saying. They removed the money on Friday, but they say they may not put the shares in my account. Huh. Well, they need to. I mean, that's either that or they're failing to deliver. That's essentially what you're getting, is you're getting a failure to deliver. And I would call them and say, if you don't put shares in my account, I'm contacting the SEC or whatever regulatory body you're part of. All right. So for a short squeeze term, call options ratchet up the pressure. Yeah, that's what the gamma is. So when you're dealing with, I'll pull up the option chain again. All right. So let's just take a look at this real quick, and I'll hit this button to get rid of that. All right. So what you have to realize is a market maker, when they are coming out, right, they take a look at this and they say these things in the yellow are all in the money at this point right now. So that means they have to start hedging. Now, they don't have to hedge every single share, and we don't know for a fact that every one of these is a bullish one. So they know, though, obviously, because it's marked down in their books, how many shares they need to hedge, and they have a mathematical formula for this. Sorry, I'm getting another jelly bean because my throat's starting to bother me. All right. So right here, you got about 2 million shares, right? They don't have to hedge all of 2 million today. And let's say, it's more like 1.8. There might be some, bearish calls in there. So what you now have to deal with is this. This is Monday. So by Friday, they have to make sure that they have enough shares, or at least close enough shares, that if these go all in the money, that they have shares to deliver to you by Tuesday of next week. Because it's T+2 for options. So Friday, by Tuesday, their options are due. So say, for example, that, oops, I'm going to keep that yellow. All right, here we go. So now, right now, I usually mark these with red because they're considered burned, but we are not far enough into the week that any of these matter. Because really, options, by the time it's Wednesday, they start to shape out what's really going to happen. So, right here, as these 5 start getting hedged, it will start pushing the price up to like 550. Now, these shares right here, this is only like 100,000 shares, 100 and whatever, was it 116, about that? No, 100, like 160K shares. So you might have to hedge like 20K of those shares. But if this was all filled up like this, as you get closer to this right here, they now start having to hedge 4.2 million shares, and that's a lot, considering that our float is only, for example, like 26.27 million. So what ends up happening then is as you go further up, you're causing like basically the gamma on these to change and start being, and as the week gets closer to an end, you're also getting increased pressure to make sure that these are in the money. So when you hear gamma squeeze, it typically is something that's like a self-feeling. That's why I said if you really want to see, something, move, you got this area right here in the money has to be built up, because what they're going to do on the other side. Now, remember, this is for the 20th, so this is not this week. If you want me to pull up this week so we can kind of look at something that's more accurate, let me just catch up on here. But yeah, I'll go through options for this week later on. I just need to. I realize I'm falling way behind on these messages. So, what are the best puts to ratchet up pressure, strike, and expiration? I mean, like the puts that are sold this week with a theta that's decaying. If you were selling puts, for example, for like 450, those ones would ratchet up the pressure, because if that's where max pain is, like I said, that those market makers have to make a choice. If they try to drop it below 5 or 450, they will owe shares at the end of the week, which will be owed by Tuesday of the following week. So I think the SI will keep going up. That's what Stock Talk said. How could you explain an SI being over 100%? Does that basically mean naked shorts? It means more that the T plus settlement system has issues, because when you have T plus 35/37, when you have T plus 2, when you have T plus 3, when you have like all that stuff can be in the air, so technically you can short more than an actual stock exists. Yeah, that can happen because you have so many of these things that can be kind of like overlapping at times. So if like all of a sudden you've got all these shares that are just out there floating, and they can also be in the options chains, and it becomes a big mess. And that's kind of what GameStop did. So yes, it means that there are not enough shares to go around. And that's how you end up with a situation of a squeeze, which is people are looking. It's kind of like musical chairs. Think about it this way. I think I wrote this a long time ago. I wrote a little story about basically how it's musical chairs in a way. The music stops and everyone's got to find a chair. Well, guess what? If somebody doesn't find a chair, they're going to have to go to the market and pay enough money till somebody is willing to give them a chair. And that's essentially how this game goes, is when all of a sudden the music stops for these guys, they will have to scramble to the market and try to find shares. And at some point, other people will be willing to sell. Other times they won't find it, and so the stock price will continue going up until they find sellers. And that's how you end up with a huge green candle, and that doesn't stop until they find sellers. And then you usually find a period of consolidation, and you might bull flag out. But that's essentially what you're seeing right now is, you've got to move up, you got a retracement, then you'll see another move up when they try to find more shares. So that's how that works. How long do you think hedges will play short on this? Can we get control of? Yeah, here's the thing. Like we don't know. Like we don't know. These are big companies. Like I looked up the short, who's like shorting the stock, and it's like your like normal big players that. Here, let's just go over this real fast so you can see. And some of them have closed their positions, which is a good thing. But like, for example, like, so if we do by the filing date, so Belvedere increased their short position. They bought puts. They increased them from, like 54.80 to 73,000. The Coulter Group, they actually closed, it looks like. If you notice here, they closed theirs. Susquehanna actually closed theirs on the 5th. So they were like, no, we're not playing with this. So they were like, they still have a position, but they greatly reduced it once we got that volume that second day. Blackstone Alternative basically looks like they closed theirs. Jane Street, though, yeah, they closed theirs too. They had a huge position against this, and they closed that down. That's actually, but that was back in February. Wolverine, they're still partly in it. Citadel moved some of their stuff down too. So they started closing their stuff around this time frame. These guys came in and they upped their stakes. But there's obviously still people in and shorting it, and we're not seeing every single filing yet. So, but yeah, until they start closing out those positions, I'm fine with it. What do you see happening tomorrow? There's always possible for retracement that we would go ahead and maybe head up in the morning, and then we could fade into the day if we don't have volume. We didn't have great volume today, but we still moved up. So I think there's obviously an interest in the stock, and the more green days you have, the more momentum you get for at least retail kind of FOMOing in. So I would like to see at least let's go to like, let's see. I think what I'd like to see is this. we had a nice move up in the afternoon. Could I see us moving up and trying to get into this area and then kind of faltering and then chopping around? I mean, or we could actually just start slumping and kind of there, and then, we could have one more day of that until we actually popped up again. But it's possible that we also just continue this momentum, and, we'll see where the pre-market goes. If it, gaps up, then, I would expect them to at least retest this level. But I'd be interested to see, because at this point we just started an uptrend here. We were basically here. Could we go up, come down a little bit, and then boom on Wednesday? That's the day we fly. I don't know. That just worst Randy Savage impression than ever. Yeah, I agree. After I did, I was like, that was pretty bad. You can't handle my theta. I am really far behind. I feel like that was like forever ago I talked about that. Is it Pat Tat or Pat T? I don't know. I'll have to ask him in the Discord when I get done. Are options T+3? I think options are T+2, and I think commons are T+3. You could look it up. Then, sorry, it's 0.5. Jake was saying, not 5%, but 0.5%. Let's see. Crazy idea. Everyone transferred their shares to another broker. This would create a massive amounts of FTDs. Not going to lie, Thomas, that is not the worst idea, because if your brokers have not actually bought your shares yet, they would actually have to buy them for them to get transferred. There was a spike, I believe, after GameStop when people transferred out of Robinhood. There are aggregate fails at registry clearings at 10,000 or more. This equals 1.5 or 1/2 of 1% of the issues total outstanding. Yeah, I was going to say, so you're right, Jake. I thought it was 5%, but it's 0.5%. That's right. Let's see. All the AMC GB bag owners will... Yeah, listen, so I own both stocks, and I understand their hesitation for not being in Aterian. Like, I was one of those people that was like, this is the only thing, this is the only thing. And then I started looking into Aterian, and I noticed that it wasn't looking right, and something was off. And the more I looked into it, the more I was like, this is there's something here. And everyone was like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, I don't think I am. Like, I watched this happen before. Like, I was down early with GameStop, there's something off with this small cap. And, I get why people would be hesitant, but I think if they read the DD and they actually do some research for themselves, I think they would understand why people are excited about this, this particular stock and investing in it. So, and here's the thing, like, when it starts running, then everyone's going to be like, oh, well, they didn't know what they were talking about, or this is just a pump and dump. And then if it keeps running, then they're going to go, oh, well, maybe this wasn't. And, they'll have to deal with the fact that they discounted it, just like I did when GameStop was really low and DFB entered it. And I didn't look at it because I thought the guy was clearly off his rocker for buying GameStop. As a fundamental investor, I was like, that didn't make sense, but I didn't read his DD. I'll be honest, I didn't do it. And when I finally read his DD, I'm like, I know what he's doing. This guy's really smart. So, hey, Anon, why does your ATER chart show the last candle was red if we were green today? I think that's just Weeble, and I think it's the time frame. I don't exactly know why they do theirs this way, because I've noticed like there were days that were red here that showed up green. So I don't know what Weeble's deal is. If you look at like this one, this shows green. So that was today. I don't know why Weeble's doing it that way. Let's see. Blood Clot says, why would they borrow them and not short them immediately? Because it may be actually more expensive in the future, so it's cheaper to borrow them and hold them than it would be to borrow them, down the line. So that's why Blood Clot. I believe the percent of loan also goes against the percent of float. Okay, let me just see. Watch Trey's option classes, 2 videos. And this is my first time watching your channel. I'm impressed. Like and subscribing. Thank you. Thank you, Stop Talk. Yeah. Let's see. Making a Termigator t-shirt, aiming a grenade launcher at the hedge funds. It's a fun name, Termigator. All right. Thank you, Fun, for throwing that out there about the Patreon. Someday, hopefully, I can do this for you guys live, and we can kind of go over plays and while they're happening, and that's kind of the goal. You know, I talked to my wife, and she said I could do it as long as I don't lose any money doing it. So, all right, let's see. They borrow them when they can get a lower cost to borrow, and then short them later if they need to. Yeah, it's like storing ammo. Like, you might as well just take all your ammo up front if you're going to use it later. So, let's see. What do you sound so sensible? I feel bad for Trey for getting so much shit when trying to look out for his viewers. Yeah, I never watched how he presented it. I just heard that he talked about buying puts, and he got murdered for it. And I felt like I probably should say something, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't, but like, I think it's the smart thing to do. At least, in our Discord, I'm going to call it out and just say, like, obviously not financial advice, but, you may want to protect your assets by at least hedging a little bit. And yeah, sure, it's not going to probably make or break the entire thing, but it at least provides some safety. Let's see. How high do you think it could hit after FTDs? I mean, honestly, I think I told people this the other day, but I thought GameStop, my target was 80, and then we flew through 80 up to like 160 in the same day, and I was like, I'm not selling anything. So you never know how loaded this cannon is, because we don't know what's buried underneath some of these FTDs, and at this point, we're just speculating until we see basically May 15th will be the really interesting one, because we'll get to see the start of this run, but we're not seeing the FTDs that will be cumulative. The ones that will be the most interesting are this back half. That's where the accumulation really should be. Thoughts on the volume? We did go up today, but only on 22 mil. Yeah, I mean, so here is something interesting. They're not shorting as much. They're buying in the money puts to try to control the price. And what's interesting about that is, I don't know if they're doing it just to save ammo for Friday, but they've really not been pushing the price. They're trying to push it down, obviously, in waves, but like, it's not like we're getting 100. So either they turned off their algo machine and they're just doing this kind of like more like a normal, that they're not just flipping shares back and forth between two hedge funds and trying to get what they call seller boxing. And I don't know if that's because there's now increased scrutiny, because I had been calling the SEC, we're reporting this to the Department of Justice, and so I don't know if all of a sudden they're trying to fight a little more fair, because they don't want to get caught using this stuff when people are starting to actually look at them and what they're doing. So I've noticed the short interest went from like 60% down to like 40%, and that's unusual for us, because normally that stays at 60% the entire time that I've been watching this stock. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I'm just throwing it out there. There might be something going on with that. Are these bots? I'm seeing red box shills. Yeah, that's probably bots. If people are talking about that, I mean, like, I understand what the red box play is. What they have warrants apparently at a certain price, but they're trying to basically pump it just to get those warrants out for the underwriter probably, and then they'll probably just dump on everyone. So Redbox is like a dying company, and they do have a decent amount of short interest, but at the same time, what's going to end up happening is those people, if you're not fast enough on that play, you're going to absolutely become a bag holder. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking to pump it up, though. So buying insurance is very smart. You're sacrificing potential gains, but you're minimizing potential losses. There's no shame in letting people know that, Anon. You're good. All right, thank you. Well, I'll be banking. I'll be laughing the bank with my red box. Yeah, Jay Pong. I don't know if you're still in here. Obviously, this is probably like an hour ago that I talked about this, but yeah, I understand the red box play. I also think that Aterian has a much better setup right now, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't risk. It's like the SST play. Like at any point, like you're relying on people pumping that so you can get out, basically. So, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with staying with Aterian right now. Thanks, though. All right. There's something not right in the state of Denmark. Yeah, at this point, we have a better odds here than, like, you know, if you're coming in here to pump another stock during it, literally, it's labeled Aterian DD. Yeah. So. All right, so Redbox pumpers, everyone's talking about banning them. Citadel, and the bots are back, but they have no faces. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. J-Pong, I think you work for Netflix. Netflix is not the reason why, yeah. The bot spoke back. He's alive. It's not a bot, he's just a pumper. All right, so let's see. What do you think will happen tomorrow in regards to the price action? I think I covered that earlier, but, you know, what I saw at least was, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, guys. Like, it's going to be one of those things where it could retrace or we can just continue up. Like, we're, you know, basically breaking out of a downtrend. And if I go to, like, the 1 hour, you know, we just established this new uptrend, and so will we continue it? Will we dip down a little bit, then go back up? You know, if you kind of look, are we starting to make like a really ugly, like, we'll see. I don't even want to call it out because it's too ugly. It's not real. So, let's see. Weeklies are where you get the real rush. Zero, yeah. So, Jake's telling you about the 0 day to expiry. Those are like the absolute riskiest plays you can do on options. You're basically throwing your money away. Like, you might as well just take whatever amount of money that you're like going to use there, and you could just flush it down the toilet. Your odds of hitting those are like 1 in like 20,000 or something like that. But if you do hit one of those, you're going to be rich beyond belief. So it is what it is. That's what Wall Street Bets kind of got, you know, really famous for was these guys were spending like 20 grand on 0 day FTDs, and if they hit, they would make like millions of dollars. But if they lost, then they lost all their money. So that's how you crash and burn, and that is not how you manage your risk. Okay. I'm a newbie who jumped into the stock market about a month ago. Okay. The thing about, let's see, bots are pumping it. They're saying, let's see, options scare me. Yeah, you don't have to play options. Like, if you don't understand options, I would recommend learning everything you can about them before you even touch them. So that would be my recommendation, just as a retail investor who has also played with them. Learn everything you can about them. I mean, like, DZ is really good with it. You can ask him in our Discord. He's got plenty of knowledge for everybody. Okay, let's see. Isn't Delta how many? Wait, doesn't Delta? Let's see. Isn't Delta tell you how many shares they've hedged? So Delta is like a probability. Like, if you're looking at like options, your Delta is like rate of change, I think, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But if you have like a delta of 1, for example, you're basically like, you need to hedge those because it's probably going to be in the money. And then it's like, it kind of coincides with probability of like the option being in the money. So when you have a delta of 1, you're basically 100%, you're going to be in the money. It's a tough time to try to learn options. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. If you don't know about options now, then I would not recommend jumping in head first when you're in the middle of a squeeze play, unless you really study your butt off and you really can make some good progress. But it's common shares never expire. You're probably safer doing that in your first run. Yeah. If you use Thinkorswim, you can use paper money to learn options, and they actually have a whole trade screen, which is nice that you can go through and look at probabilities and look at the delta. Yeah, so like delta meaning that they hedge 90 shares per option. Yeah, that's accurate. For the most part, they don't account for gamma and theta, I think, but that's the basic idea would be that they're hedging most, like 90% of an option for that. I don't think it's a perfect match, but there's another factor that goes into it. But yeah, it's basic. If you want to think in basic terms, then yeah, that's pretty close. Options are easiest when you learn the basics. Just play cheap options for a while. Stay away from spreads. Yeah, I mean, honestly, let's read through. Delta is the value changing of the contract relative to the share price. Yep. I think of delta as measured for every dollar of change in the stock price. Yeah, if those options are cheap, those options are cheap for a reason. Let's see. I sold $5 puts this morning, and we closed out of the money. Yeah, so if we keep moving up, then congrats on that premium. Hopefully you can use some of that premium to buy more shares. Are shorts already covered? No, they are not. You can look at any Ortex or any data point, and it does not show that they have covered. In fact, they look like they've increased their short position further. So, but we'll find out tomorrow morning. At least the exchange reported stuff from a couple days ago, and then we'll go from there. All right. Delta is how much the option goes up if the stock moves up $1. It's equivalent to the number of shares. So 90 deltas, hedging 90 shares. If you're making $90 per $1, the stock move. Yeah. I must not have explained that correctly, but there. My first time watching this guy's video. Yeah, I'll be honest. I've only been doing it for like 3 weeks, I think. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. I've been streaming the charts longer because I wanted to keep a track of basically the level 2s, kind of watch the price action. And honestly, I was looking to gather evidence that I can use later when they're spoofing and stuff like that. So, excuse me. Let's see. Everyone's jumping on J Pong. I don't know who that is really. Just make sure to check out DZ Moneyman's DD. Yeah. Oh, good. DZ Moneyman just posted DD in the Discord. That's awesome. I'll have to go take a look at that too. Oh yeah, that's right. It's the Heckin. I don't know. Let's see if I can pronounce this right. The Heckin Ayashi candles, is that right? Something like that. Heckin Ayashi. That's why the candles aren't doing that. I forgot I set the Weeble once this. Yeah. Yeah, some people prefer the Heckin ones. I think if I remember correctly, it smooths out some of the the interday stuff, and it makes it so it's a little more readable for trends and stuff like that. That's why people tend to use the Heckin ones, if I'm saying that right. Can you explain the warrants? Sure, the warrants aren't that they're not too difficult. So there are warrants from the merger that are at 25, I think, if I remember correctly. Let me just log in real quick to my spreadsheet that I keep. Okay, here we go. So if anyone's interested, I do have, and I haven't, we do have a code for these guys. Let me just pull this up for you guys real quick. So Dilution Tracker is a great website. I contacted these guys, and they actually hooked us up with a discount. I can't remember if it's 10% or 20%, but basically, this is a super helpful thing for a lot of retail traders, because these guys go through all the filings and then kind of put it into a nice format that you can see. And, here's your private placement down here. You have your share amount, your offering amount, your underwriters. So these are the warrants right here. And if you notice the prices on them, the way it works is these are the ones that came out in March. And this is what everyone was like, oh, there's dilution. But they didn't understand right here, exercisable in 6 months. So that means they can't exercise those until September 6th. So the day they went active, 6 months after that. So they went active on the 6th of March, and then they'll be eligible, I think, on 9/6. So these are at $3.20, but you can't touch them right now. So these right now, they're trying to probably hedge these, but I don't know if they'll make it to September. To be honest with you, the shorts, I'm not sure if they can get that, So these are the other two warrants that are still in play. And you can see up here, they do have like this, there's a total of 12 million warrants. But this one over here is at 1560. And this one right here, there's only about 318,000 left. And actually, somebody in our group, I think it was Rob or somebody, went through and actually said that he only calculated 290K. So we're not sure if it's 290 or if it's 318. But at this point right now, we'll just assume, be conservative and say that it's 300,000 shares, basically at $15. We're sitting there right now at $5. So we have $10 a share more in price before we even get to this level. And honestly, 300K shares at this price, that's really nothing. So there's either 290K or 300,000, or 318K. That's not that much. So the next one though is 25, and those ones right here are 5.3 million shares. And this is these were warrants that came from acquisitions. So MacArthur, Healing Solutions. I think MacArthur owned Smash, if I remember correctly, and then High Trail, and then this was an acquisition, and these are individuals that own it too. So these ones can't be exercised until 25.10. So right now you're looking at $10 a share more just for this small amount here, and then the more meaningful dilution would come at 5.3 million shares up here at 25. But I mean, if you use that as a barometer, we're sitting here at 5. If you've got 25 more or $20 a share more, that's kind of crazy to think about. How many shares do you have? If you have that guy that's got 1 million shares, if you add 20 onto that, he's making an additional $20 million on his shares if he held that long. That's pretty crazy if we were to get up to that level. So I'm just throwing that out there. Great website, Dilution Tracker. If you are interested in that, contact me inside the Discord, and we'll go ahead and hook you up with the discount code that we have, and I'll make it a little bit cheaper for you. That's their plug. They're not paying me for it, but I just figured if we can help out our guys, and if anyone's interested, that's great. All right, let's see. Can you explain the situation if they automatically issue warrants at 25? So once they're over 25, those warrants can be exercised. That's how it works. So it would cause a speed bump at 25 if we were running, but it depends on how high the volume is. If the volume is 145, K, those 5 million shares will get eaten up pretty fast. So we might dip down as they're exercising those for a bit, but if we've got additional buy pressure, and if there was a lot of shorts that are covering during that time, it may just be a slight dip, and then it could still run if you needed to. Shorts owe right now, I believe 11 million shares. So, You would get half there if they could cover those, if they were buying. But they still have another 5 million shares, depending on how they got up there. So we'll see. And there'll be people up here that short again, like at 750, at 10. So there'll be new shorts that come into the fight. So I mean, you never know. We'll see. Yeah. Sorry, getting tired. It's pronounced Heiken Ayashi. Heiken Ayashi. Is that right? Hopefully. Who can buy the warrants? Anyone? No, those warrants are issued directly to those people that I pointed out inside the, MacArthur. They're the only people that have those warrants. So they were not publicly sold warrants. BBAI, that's one that I know that some people have looked at. I'm long on them. Those particular ones, you can buy on their own ticker, and they actually show up as a different ticker. So if you look at, I'm just showing you guys how some of these warrants work. BBAI, right? Notice there's two of them here. There's BBAI Holdings, and then there's BBAI warrants right here. And you can tell because it says BBAI WS. That's warrants. So these are the warrants that they hold on them, and I believe they're for like $11 or $12 a share. So some of them trade separately from their ones, and these ones are available to the public. But Aterian, those ones are all private, so you won't be able to get access to those ones. But those owners of those people, the MacArthur and Healing Solutions, they could possibly sell those shares if it got up there to that stock price, and they would go ahead and, because they didn't pay that much for those warrants. So for them, they might sell them at 25, or they could hold them. It all depends. Sorry. I'm starting to get tired. All right, so looks like anyone else got any questions? I mean, we kind of covered some things. I'd like to see, obviously, I'd love to get back up into this, this uptrend here. Even if we had to bull flag it out a little bit and then move up the next day, that'd be fine too. What am I going to buy with my tendies from the squeeze? I think, honestly, what we would do is we've always talked about expanding. I don't have a garage in my house. It's funny because if you guys have been around for a while, some of you guys don't know me that well, but we have a carport, a one car carport on our house, and our house is old. Like, it was built in the 1950s, 1960s. So it's an older house, and we're not fancy people. Like, I drive a 2013 Hyundai Elantra. I'm not a fancy guy. Yeah, definitely not spending it on what you just wrote there. Let's. I'm married and I've got kids, and so I mean, I'd love to be able to spend a little bit of money and put a garage on the house and maybe a room above it, and I think the other thing that we were looking at was, at this point right now, our kids are not in daycare, so I'd like to get both of them in daycare, but it's been expensive, so our in-laws watch them. So I'm a normal person just like everyone else. I'm a retail trader. I'm not I was accused multiple times of being like a hedge. I have nothing to do with any financial institution. I have literally people were asking me what my job is. I'm not telling anyone what my job is, but it has nothing to do with markets. Yeah. Yeah. A minivan, the diamond ring you couldn't get for your wife. Yeah. I mean, we're not fancy, we're not fancy people. Yeah, I'm not lying about any of this. This is my life. You can ask any of my friends. They laugh. None of them really know that this is, Anon. I kind of mad at myself for getting stuck with such a stupid name. Number one, nobody can remember it because it's super hard. I made it just as a Reddit handle, and then of course that's the one that that's the one that somehow stuck, and then it's supposed to be Anon like F the hedge funds because like it was the middle of GameStop. My Reddit handle had like my name in it. It wasn't because I'm like QAnon or like it just. I was pissed at the hedge funds for GameStop and getting Citadel to shut down GameStop, and who's the burger person? Oh, Bob's Burger. I was told I sound like the guy from Bob's Burger. Archer and Bob's Burger is the voice. My day is good, thank you, Fun Size. And then he said, "Friend of the hedge funds." I knew it. Yeah, I'm not. I do. I told you guys I did have a friend. I do have two friends that out of college they got jobs with an oil hedge fund, and we don't really overlap on any of the stuff because they don't trade oil. They trade oil. They trade oil futures. They don't trade stocks. So sometimes they come to me and talk to me about stocks, but for the most part, I don't really have any big connections. I did have a friend of mine that worked on Wall Street at one point, and now he manages, I think, something in Texas, like a teacher's pension fund, which I think is huge because there's a lot of teachers in Texas. But I asked him, I was like, "How'd you get your start on Wall Street?" Because I asked him, I was like, "What was your major?" And he was like, "I was a history major." I was like, "Well, how did you get that job?" And he was like, "My fraternity brother, his dad owned like some small fund, and he got his start there, and then was able to hop to a bigger one." I don't know who he worked for, to be honest, because back when he was working there, I wasn't that interested in like stocks and how all this worked. And then by the time he's been out, he's been out now for years working for down in Texas. So, but I do remember him telling me that he was working about 60 to 70 hours a week or something like that. Like he literally would just wake up, go to the office, and then he would come home like midnight, go out for like 2 drinks, go crash. And he was staying in an apartment in Manhattan that he literally was living in a closet of somebody's house, and he was still paying like $1,000 rent to live in a closet. And I'm like, but he saved up a ton of money, and he ended up traveling the world after that because I think they were paying him something like, I don't know, like $10,000 a month, something like that, something crazy like that. I'm sure these hedges have learned a thing or two since GME. They don't want another Melvin. I see them pulling their evil in this. Yeah, I mean, they're going to try, Chris. That's the honest truth. Like, they don't want to lose this. And the worst, this is a small cap, so it's easier to manipulate, but I think there's starting to be eyes on this. If Anon's a DoorDash driver, I will invest. I am not a DoorDash driver, but yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog. He was talking about going to that movie. When I saw your first name, I thought it said Anon the Thief. It kind of does look like that. Yeah, yeah. My friend, yeah, but he does really well now. I mean, he's making a lot of money down in Texas. So, great day. Congrats, Longs. Yeah, congrats to everybody. Obviously we're winding down here, so you should get your teacher's friend to. Yeah, I won't talk to him about stocks. I don't want to put his career in jeopardy. Yeah, I wish I could, but yeah, I was gonna say that would be unethical, and that guy, is on the up and up. So yeah, whoever bought that 100,000K wall, that was pretty crazy. Like, I remember sitting there, and I was actually literally typing to somebody, and I said, "Oh, look, somebody's attacking that 100K wall." And it kept bouncing off it. We kept bouncing off it. And I said, "I think they're actually eating this wall up," because I saw the numbers going down. And I was like, holy crap. Like, somebody just bought the entire wall. And then the stock was able to get over to the 450. And I was like, wow, okay. Chris, I just wanted to say thank you about all this. Thanks, I appreciate it, guys. Mike, thanks so much for the donation. I was going to say, what's the worst case scenario for Aterian? The worst case scenario is we retrace back down. I don't think they're going to get it back down to this level. So here's the lowest it's been. This is your 52-week low. So this is why I say it's an asymmetrical bet. And I know some people kind of, are like, what's that? But it means that you have limited downside and you have a lot of upside. So if you look at this right here, 210 is your 52-week low. That is below current asset values, and we're going to find out a lot more on this next earnings on where their balance sheet's at. So if they've improved it, if it's not, but like we're going to find out real quickly if this is a legit number, that this could be the low again. My guess is probably not. I think they've reduced some of their expenses, and I think you're going to see a better balance sheet because some of the debt's off their books. They have a new lending partner, so. And the money from the private placement was able to kind of give them some cash. So I think they're going to be in like a decent place. This is a cash hungry company just because it's young, and at this point right now, with the shipping being the way it is, they're bleeding money in certain areas. But overall, their revenue has grown like year after, or like month after month and month after month and quarter after quarter. So they're interested in focusing on the growth and like making sure they can kind of like prove their thesis that they can compete within the Amazon marketplaces and other like things. So this is your downside risk right here. This is the lowest it's been for years. So if you're buying in at 4 something or even 5, your downside risk is $2-3. Your upside though is massive. So if you think about it that way, you have a lot less to go from here to here than here all the way up to whatever it could be, If it runs to 15, 20, who knows? So that's why I say it's an asymmetrical bet. And I think that's what, a lot of the smart people have done is they said, okay, well, if you bought in even like up here at the like 6s, you're still a lot closer to down here than anything that would be up there. So that's why I say it's, especially if you started buying again in the 4s, like, that was a smart move for anyone that was buying in the 4s. And you can always write yourself or sell, you can sell $4 puts or $4.50 puts and see if you can get them. If it drops down to 4, then you might get cheaper shares. And if not, then you at least, you'll get the premium and you can buy maybe a couple shares with those premiums. So, yeah, nobody talks about the company beating earnings the last 3 quarters. Yeah, I mean, they've beat earnings all 3 quarters, yet they got hammered down each time. And the fact that the one that really shocked, I think, everyone was this one, because they actually had a decent quarter here. Like, we got the earning results here. The next day, it spiked all the way up to like 8 something, and the shorts had to hammer it down. When I mean hammer it down, I mean, I want to show you on this chart because I think this shows a better view. This is the earnings right here I was talking about. So at this point, we had been in a down slump, but we thought this earnings was going to be interesting because here it is. This is your earnings right here. So this was the call right here. After hours went up, and it gapped up, and it actually went up pretty decently. And if look what they had to do. They had to just slam it down on that earnings. I wrote earnings here, but it really is right here. Like, this is the earnings day. So as you see, the OBV actually went up. Sorry, OBV is this one. OBV went up. Money flow actually went up into earnings because they beat on it, and then they had to slam the stock down to get it back in the down channel because they didn't want it to break out and start going back up. So they literally had to like just slam this down with a ton of like shorting and stuff like that and get it back down and break people's will. And then retail kept trying to buy, and they just kept bleeding it down until you got into this area. And then we thought this was a spring. We were early on it though. So the spring actually was this 210, and then we started moving back up. So, but this is basically Russia had happened, and Russia invades, and then we went even lower, and that's when we hit our all-time 52-week low. So, let me see. There's some questions coming in. Give me a second. All right. So say we have a disaster for earnings. How bad will that hurt it? Do you think buyer beware because the short squeeze they published, or this is going to be a really good earnings? So Pete, we don't know. We don't know what they're going to produce on earnings. If we knew, then obviously we'd be all rich. So what I can tell you is this. So we have earnings coming up here on the 4th or 5th. I can't remember which day it was. It's one or the other. Here's what I can tell you right now. Shorts are going to hammer it no matter what happens. And longs are going to buy it no matter what happens. And so I don't think anything fundamentally changes. The only thing that's going to be different is we're going to get to see if institutions want to start buying again. Because I don't think most retail investors at this point really are looking that deeply at the balance sheet. This is just me talking out loud. We'll go over the balance sheets with everybody inside the Discord that has joined us, because we always pick apart those things, and I think we do a good job of presenting very fair and accurate. Because I don't want to blow smoke up anyone's ass. Like if it's not great, then I'm going to tell you this isn't a great quarter. But I will tell you this: I don't think most retail traders at this point right now are going to sell because they don't think at this point we're closer to the bottom than the top. And so I don't think retail traders are going to go, oh, well, I'll just buy back in at 2. Like, no, like they're going to be buying in on this because the amount of FTDs and other things that are going on. And, they think that this company is undervalued. That's the honest truth. And so I don't think a disastrous earnings is going to even do anything. They're going to short it. And you may have some institutions sell a little bit, but you might have other ones buy. So it's hard to tell. I'm thinking it's not going to be that big of an impact. If anything, it's going to be the catalyst to send the stock higher. If it's bad, then I think retail will just buy the dip. That's just my opinion. If Microsoft and the big tech names miss earnings, what would it be a good idea to buy puts in the money until earnings? If you're trying to pick up other stocks, like for example, Microsoft, you could always put a number that you think it's going to go to. Like, say, for example, tomorrow, if I thought the stock's going to go to maybe $4 and then it's going to bounce up, I might sell a put for $4 for this week if I really wanted the shares this week, or if you wanted it a couple weeks out, you could do that too. I think if that's what you're asking. Nobody talks. Yeah, I read that one. I bought the 4s, the 5s, and the 6. All are a great discount. Yeah, Steven, like, to me, at this point right now, anything under basically, what book value right now is $4.23, and most stocks trade above their book value. So I would say, in my opinion, like, it's a buy for anything that's under, 10. Like, for me, looking long term. So that's what I'd say. Somebody asked, Binder Dundat, would you suggest I drop 100K life savings on Aterian? And number 2, I don't suggest spending all your money on one thing, like ever. Like, I don't have 100% of my money in Aterian. I still have other stocks, that are like, blue chips, and I have some stocks that are growth. And I don't think you should ever put all your money into one thing, because that's how you could wipe an account. And just in anything, like, it doesn't matter if you put 100% of your money in Amazon right now, you could lose like a good, huge chunk of your money if the stock market crashes. So I don't believe you should put all your eggs in one basket ever. However, I do believe that the fundamentals on what's going on right now don't make sense to me. I don't think the stock should have been at 210, and I don't think the stock should be basically trading down here. I think the stock was pushed down here by a series of incidents, and then also outside, factors like the short interest and the amount of people shorting the stock. So I can tell you right now that, there's no financial advice in here, but I believe in this, and so I have a good chunk of money that's bought into this, and I'm very happy with what I've decided to do. So you do whatever you think is right for your money, and I believe that you should learn. If you're new to this, you should not be throwing everything in one basket. And if you're new to this, or if you aren't new to this, you should know that you should probably at least spread your money out in different sectors and different things. That way you don't have a single point of failure. That's just, common sense would tell you if you have only one thing and that thing goes wrong, you have nothing. So have multiple different, revenue streams, have multiple different things going on. Earnings is on the 5th. Yeah, I was going to say, you're right. If you're looking at the squeeze potential, the catalyst started. So, I was going to say, I don't think, for example, diversify, that's the smarter thing to do. Like, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just saying if you read any sort of like book on how to handle money, you shouldn't throw everything in one thing. That would be like the opposite of what they teach you in any sort of textbook about money. Could you get insanely rich off that one thing? Sure. But, that goes for a lot of things. Like, people got insanely rich off Dogecoin, and that was a coin that and Shiba and all these other, like, I couldn't get my head around it. I was like, I can't buy a coin that has a dog on it. Like, I couldn't do it. And I kept seeing it going up, and I'm like, I just can't do it. Like, and I know people that made a lot of money in it, and I know people that lost money in it, and I'm like, you guys bought a coin with the meme dog on it. Like, what? Like, but I'll tell you a fun story before I get off. So I don't know what year it was, maybe 2007, 6, 7, something like that. Let me just double check my dates on this, because the guy called me up. And he said, here, I'm typing it in right now. Let me sure. Yeah, so I guess it might have been '08, if I remember this correctly. It was '08 or '09. It might have been '09, because I had been out of the Marines for a couple years, and somebody just wrote, I saw the Stephen Paddock guy. That was the shooter. Was that the Las Vegas shooter guy? Yeah, that's not a good thing to have in there. That's messed up. You shouldn't have that guy up as your profile pic. So anyway. But this guy calls me up. He was in the Marines with me, and he goes, hey. And I was like, what? And he was like, have you ever heard this Bitcoin thing? And I was like, no, what is it? And so I Googled it, and I'm like, what is this? And he was like, it's some digital cryptocurrency. And I'm like, I'm a stock guy, so I'm like, no, man, like, put your money in something that's real. I was like, you should invest in. I gave him a laundry list of like blue chips that he should invest in, because that was what I mainly did, was fundamental investing. And he was like, I'm gonna buy some of these things. I'm like, what? Like, you're gonna buy funny money, like Monopoly money? And he was like, what's digital? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, man. Like, what are you talking about? He bought, I think it was something like $5,000 worth of Bitcoin back then, and he had thousands of shares of, he had like thousands of Bitcoins, and he kept trying to convince me to buy it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not buying your stupid, like, funny money. So dumb. So dumb. I'm going to have to call him, because I want to find out when he sold those, or if he did sell them. Because literally, he had thousands of Bitcoin. Yeah, he wasn't the guy that, he didn't buy the pizzas with it, but, like, he had, like, thousands of Bitcoin. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he was like, yeah, this thing, I heard it's going to be the future. And I was like, you're an idiot. And now look who's the idiot. Because I bet you that guy's so much more rich than I am now. So now when people tell me, like, hey, this is a thing, I start actually researching it now without just without being dismissive. So when people are like, NFTs, I'm like, I'll at least look at this, because I don't want to be that guy that, like, dismisses it and then it was a thing, because I've already done that now, like, twice. I did it for Bitcoin, and then I ignored the DD that DFV wrote for like, I should have gotten in like $10 a share cheaper, and I could have bought a ton of it. But I didn't read it until it was already like 17 to like 20. So like, those are my two big regrets for not or being dismissive and being like, I know more than other people. So I've stopped doing that. Like, honestly, I'm not perfect. I miss stuff all the time. And I've gotten to the point now where I think I'm more humble now than I was back then, because I thought it, like, you ever hear that expression that, like, you know, I guess the more you know, the less you say, as far as like, I mean, obviously you guys are listening to me talk, but like, I typically will go into a situation and assume I don't know that much. And I think there's, what's it called? Dunning-Kruger, the Dunning-Kruger effect. The more you, there's like a curve, I think it's called Dunning-Kruger. Is that right? Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Is it Dunning-Kruger effect? It's like the peak of stupidity, the peak of like confidence coincide with each other. Yeah, so here it is right here. Just so you guys can see this. This is a very accurate chart. And what it means is, okay, you know nothing, right? Your confidence is low. So as you start learning things, right, your confidence starts growing. And right here, as you still know nothing, you reach the peak of Mount Stupid. And then you figure out all of a sudden, and this is how stock traders go. Like most stock traders, this is how their entire career goes. So they learn like, okay, what's a call? Okay, what's a stock? What, you know, like, how does this work? And they think they know a ton. And there's a couple people that I've seen on, you know, Short Squeeze and some of these other places. This is where they're sitting on top of right now. Like, they don't, people are so stupid that they don't know. It's like the dude that didn't know how to read a balance sheet. He thinks that there's 100 million shares of dilution coming for Aterian, and it's because he doesn't know how to read a balance sheet. He doesn't know how, like, a corporate charter works. So, so this is where he's sitting. And then, like, what he'll find out soon is he doesn't really know as much as he thinks he knows. So you now enter the valley of despair. And then as you start gaining competence, you start getting up here. And I feel like this is where I'm kind of like getting to, is where I feel like I don't know as much. And like my confidence, I'm still pretty confident, but at the same time, like, I know that there's stuff I don't know and I need to learn. So like, I would say I'm somewhere on this slope, like right around here. And I think that's how most people and traders go. Like, you need to basically go over these humps and then kind of grow and learn. And I think that's an important thing for all people to do. It doesn't matter what thing you're talking about. It's, you know, there's always room for knowledge and there's always room for growth. And I really do believe in that growth mindset, that anyone can learn this stuff. Like, I know some people think that it's like, well, how did these guys know this stuff? And it's like, you know, honestly, like, it's because I spent a lot of time, you know, learning this stuff, and I put in a lot of effort. But yeah, like, as you start going through and you start learning, you know, little tidbits here and there, and, you know, if I can share that and help people, I want to do that, because I don't want people to get burned. Like, the biggest problem in the market is the marketplace is ruthless, and nobody cares if you lose, you know, your entire life savings. They'll take it from you in a heartbeat. Yeah. So Maggie says, I'm not that I know nothing level, but my confidence is not high. Yeah. I mean, and that's totally fine. The first hill is the most important on that chart. You got to figure out that you don't know. Yeah. And that's very, very, very true. Yeah. And the excitement, the stress, like, this is a tough thing. Like, you guys that sat here and saw this swing into this, that was a big swing, and that's rough on people's psychology. When you went up here and then you went down here, even though we pushed up at the end, like, that's still a rough swing, going up this much to all of a sudden a lot of people were in options. They were just, you know, getting killed, bleeding out. Like, this and even this took out, you know, confidence of people. People who didn't come into this week that confident. And they're going to prey on that. These guys are smart. They know what they're doing. Like, So yeah, it's very important to kind of understand where you're sitting at. Psychological war. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, these guys hire consultants from like the CIA, from like like when I was in the Marines. I won't go too much into this, but like I don't talk about my time in Iraq that much. But like I I was in a platoon that was near the S1, which is basically your like intelligence, and they were obviously they had taken people to question, and you would often see some things when you walk by that area that I'm not going to talk about, but there is very much a thing in psychological warfare that it's not pretty, and it's meant to stress the human to the point of breaking. And that's essentially what they do with these stocks is they make sure that think about this. I just want to finish up with this. When you were sitting here at this peak and all of a sudden you bled from 40 something a share all the way down to $3 a share, what do you think that does to a person? Like knowing that you had shares up here and you could be basically 90 something percent down at this point down here. Like most people don't hold that. Like they would have exited somewhere back in here, especially on these steeper drop offs. Even here, this dip from like, because people in our group bought shares at like 17, 18 a share, and then sat there and watched it go all the way down to 210. Like that's rough on a psyche. Like people are like literally like I don't know if it can hold anymore. Like if it goes down to 1, I might like, and that's what they were looking for. They were looking to break people. So yeah, they're good at their jobs, and that's why they've been successful for so many years. And it wasn't until some people were able to kind of like see through the BS and start actually imparting that this is how the system kind of works, and if you understand it, it's not as scary. And that's why I started streaming for you guys. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to be on YouTube, and I still kind of don't want to be on YouTube, but I'm doing it because I think it's, number one, it's good for a lot of people, and I'm able to kind of reach a bigger audience. But like the reason why I didn't want to do it was because honestly, I just had zero interest in coming out here, and like honestly, like it takes up a lot of my time now, and I still don't know anything about video editing. But like when I was in the Discord group, they finally, there's a couple of people that kept writing me, and they're like, dude, no one's giving our side of the story. Like all the people talking about Aterian are talking about day trading it and selling it for, like 10% rips, and then they're getting out of it and saying Aterian's done. And I'm like, you're right, and this doesn't match the thesis that I wrote. So, at some point I had to come onto YouTube and say, okay, this is kind of my thesis is these guys shorted this thing way down and pushed it beyond the point of, like all sanity. You don't short a stock unless it's going out of, liquidating down past current asset values. These guys got greedy, and at some point, if somebody comes in here with some volume, they're going to trap these guys, and they're going to get screwed. And that's why that was basically my thought process. And I wrote that out in the DD, and it finally hit around here when I think somewhere around here I wrote a DD about like why Aterian was the play against BBIG and Prague, and people lost their minds, and people hated me, and they talked crap about me and told me I was stupid, and then they brought in a bunch of other plays that were around the same time frame, and I was like, listen, like I still think this is the particular one, and I explained to people why this one I thought was going to do what it was going to do. And then this weekend we got that particular weekend there was some buzz going on about the stock, and then this is when everything kind of kicked off. And like I'm not solely responsible for that, but at the same time I think the DD at least put in perspective how warrants worked, why things were going this way. And I think finally people kind of understood where I was coming from, and that was probably also because I was starting to do these nightly things, and it helped at least get some attention onto the, like, it doesn't always have to be just these videos are not, they're way too long, and they're long format, and I'm frankly shocked that even 100 people are willing to listen to me on a daily basis. Because these are not fun videos. Like, I wouldn't watch this. Being completely honest, like if I saw this YouTube and saw like a 3-hour video of a blank screen that just comes up, I would not be doing this. So I would not watch that. But props to anyone that's listened through and held in this long, and I appreciate you guys listening to me. Yeah, I mean, I hope to make these a little more exciting in the future. I've got a buddy of mine who said that he would help me with some of these video editing, and he's actually a great director. I'll find out if he wants me to plug him, but he produced a really, really great documentary about PTSD and the Marines, and really good guy, and he's offered to help me out with some of this stuff, and he still kind of wants to do maybe a documentary kind of thing to bring attention to this kind of what could potentially be you're informative. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. So yeah, if you can hit the like button, I'm gonna go ahead and take care. Take breaks. Yeah, I'll do that. I game and drink when you're talking in the background. It's good background chatter. I feel like I'm part of the conversation. Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, they're fun for me. Someone that interacts with the group chat. That's huge in live streaming. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. I'll do my normal thing where I just link the Discord one more time. If you're interested in joining the Discord, it's free. A lot of good, really smart people in there. Let's see. I need to make it so it doesn't expire. Yeah, good night. So there's the Discord. If you're not part of it, please join us. It's free. And did I grab the right one? Is that the right Discord? Did I link the wrong Discord? Okay, it's fine. We got it. We're good. All right. Let's say, what is just put a kid in and trust me and it'll be good. Okay. I ain't smart. I'm a mater. Thanks. You sound down to earth. You have great information. I try, and I was gonna say I'm not perfect on everything. There's obviously some stuff I would love to learn more about, but I do try, and I'll continue to learn and share stuff with you guys if I can. And then the last thing is I do have a Patreon if you guys want to end up making me a full-time streamer someday. I did talk to my wife, and she said as long as I don't lose money on it, then I'm allowed to do it. So I have 79 patrons right now, but we are not quite anywhere near the goal that I need to get to supplement my income so I can do this full-time. But we will get there someday, I think. Hopefully when Aterian blows up, maybe people have some extra money in their pocket and maybe they can do this, and we can find, I can do this full time for people and share my resources and how I research stocks, and we can find the next big one together, and you do a good job explaining things in a way that people can understand them. Happy wife, happy life. Yep, I'm gonna try to make her happy, so that's the goal. So I will link this Patreon if you guys are interested in helping support me in the future. Hopefully when Aterian blows up, you'll be flush with cash, and maybe you can throw $10 my way. But thanks so much. I can show you a few game streamers and how they constantly talk with their audience instead of playing the game. Oh, just playing the game. Yeah, I was going to say, I never really watched streamers, but it seems cool. I don't think anyone would watch me play any games, but I haven't played games in a long time since I started doing the stock stuff, because it's a lot of work when you have a full-time job too. So yeah, I wouldn't watch this later, but yeah, it's nice to have live. Yeah, I'm completely with you, CKG. I wouldn't watch this either. I should just put on a picture of a kitten and everyone pay more attention. Probably. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. If we blow you, be taking care of my brother. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys, and you guys have a great evening. I'll see you guys pre-market, and hopefully everyone's in the Discord. All right. Have a great. Oh, what's your target? So, it's basically I've got to replace. It's a good amount. I do make pretty decent money. It's not like super high, but we are probably right now about a third of the way there for my Patreons. So I don't want to like blow up, that and commit, because I do have to give my boss, eventually some time, because she's going to have to find another person to run the company. But no, not per week. I was going to say, it's really not that much. I don't make over 100K, so it's not like anything ridiculous. But I do make decent money, and so I'd have to replace that before I was able to go to streaming. And at this point right now, I haven't seen how much I'll get from YouTube, because they just have all my statistics are like, I don't get that many views. I think I get like 1,000 views per video, so I might get like a couple bucks from YouTube at this point. And then people are nice enough to donate on the YouTube, but at this point I haven't gotten any of that money. I clicked on the monetization tab on YouTube, and all I saw was, let me see if I can pull it up again. I click on this. I think it's called YouTube Studio. I do need to get a new mic. I should probably invest in that, because apparently everyone says I'm really quiet. So I should probably buy a better microphone. So maybe I'll do that this week. So when I click on monetization, it just says that supers, you're eligible to receive supers, but then it doesn't tell me anything about anything else. Like, I don't know much about any of this. I need to research some of this stuff, because I just started making videos just to tell people about stuff. It wasn't really about the money, so I don't know. And then there's talking about memberships, and I don't know how any of this stuff works. So I'll just stick to stocks right now. Maybe somebody can figure out all this stuff. You'll need to create an AdSense account and link it to your channel for payments once you meet the requirements. Thanks, Becca. Or Beck. Yeah, I was going to say, they had me do that. I don't still know how I didn't give them a credit card number or like a bank account number, so I don't know where I get my money or when. It says getting paid. You are not ready for payment. That's what it says. And it says no action is needed right now. You have not met the payment threshold to receive payment. So I don't know where all that money's going, but I do have an AdSense account. So maybe somebody can walk me through that someday. Yeah, so at this point, from what I understand, all the money that's going into the super chats and all that stuff, I'm not ready for payment yet through YouTube. And that's probably because I'm only like a month old being qualified. So at some point, maybe that will change, and they'll make me set. It says you need to set up payments, and they'll notify me when I can confirm my personal information, submit tax information, and submit a form for payment. So yeah, I no advertising money until the next threshold. Yeah, I was going to say at this point, I'm still pretty new to this, so I don't know how any of this stuff works. So Twitch does pay you for followers and viewers, plus you can get tips. Yeah, I'll have to figure out what was wrong with Twitch, because I did try streaming to that the other day, and it apparently didn't come up. It had like a 404 error. So I obviously probably need to fix something in OBV or OBS. Sorry, I'm so used to talking about stocks. No worries. It's super complicated. It took me a long time to get the AdSense account up and running and then link it. Okay. I was looking at Becca. Are you in the Discord? Maybe you can teach me about this stuff, because I don't know anything about that stuff. DM me on the. Here, I'll link the Discord, and if you can write me on there, maybe you can help me walk through all this stuff, because I have no idea how any of this stuff works. Thanks, appreciate it. And Becca, if you want, you teach me that stuff, I'll help you learn stocks, just like everybody else. Or unless you already know stocks, and then maybe you can teach me stuff too. All right, so that's the link to the Discord, and then once you're on there, it's just the same name, Anon. Oh, that's nice. We're getting a lot of Marines joining in, so that's fun. At least what you're doing is a hell lot more respectful than girls selling farts for $1,000 jar. She went to the hospital though, didn't she, Chris? From what I mean, that's got to be bad on your stomach. Okay, somebody's in the Discord. Can you explain which are the main channels? Okay, so if you're, I might as well walk through this with you guys. Here, let's walk through, because we are obviously like, okay. So this is obviously very convoluted, and there's a lot going on here. And I need to clean this up because it's very, but you should be able to break things down. The problem is, like, whenever we get like spam bots, it makes all these things pop up, and then it's really hard to get to. But you should be able to collapse these things and then open them up. So it shouldn't be as like messy as it comes up, but I need to figure out how to get some of these bots off of here. So right now, most of the people are in Aterian main. So, for example, if you're going to come in here and, if you want to find out where most people are, at this point right now, they're in Aterian main. There is another one down here called the general chat. And we did make one for like mental health, for obviously, this is tough trading. And then there is a Patreon private chat for some people, but the main trading floor is, all these things are free, except for the only thing is, I think if you're a Patreon member, you get access to this private chat and some of the paid services things. Anyway, most people are in either the main trading floor or they are in the Aterian main chat. If you're in Aterian right now, that's probably where you want to hang out. And eventually, when Aterian's not as busy, most people will probably go over to the main trading floor. But at this point right now, most of the Aterian people are just hanging out in Aterian, so they're all in there. I found the one called "Cried to a Pillow." Yeah, I made that as a joke. It was just for people when they're having, issues controlling their emotions. They can go in there and just cry. It is what it is. Yeah, so I mean, if you're able to write me, just throw me a DM in there, and then maybe you can help me walk through, like, figuring out how to like get my YouTube and everything linked. You suffer in silence. Yeah, I mean, what's up, Florida? Or, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, listen, holding onto a stock like this or AMC or one of these things, they're tough. So, what I would recommend is, make sure you're taking care of yourselves. I mean, swinging, like, for some people, literally hundreds of thousands, or even, in some cases, millions of dollars, or even if $100 is a lot to you, that's rough on people. And, when you see at some points, like, I've been in stocks where I was down 80% on options, or 90%, or even sometimes 100%. And it is a rough feeling knowing that, like, I obviously made a mistake, and, I've got nothing to show for this. And so you got to be pretty mentally strong when you're trading stuff, and you have to stick with your convictions, because one of the worst mistakes I ever did was I fell for a trap with Amazon. and I was playing options on Amazon, and literally I had like hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in these options, and I knew what was going to happen, and the market faked me out because the whole market started bleeding, and I eventually was watching literally like tens and twenties of thousands of dollars just melting away within like minutes. And I just said, I can't stomach this. I mean, literally I watched like 120 or 130 million, or sorry, 120 or 130K melt away in like 3 minutes. And I was like, I made a huge mistake. And I sat there and I was like, all right, am I going to do this? And I was like, I can't watch it bleed anymore. And so I pulled it out, and eventually what ended up happening was everything turned around and it flew up the next day, and they completely shook me out. And I was like, but I jumped into the big tank with all the sharks, and I didn't have enough ammo to play in that game. And so for me, that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever did. Was I took money that was I didn't have that to lose. And so when you're starting to play like that, that's when you make mistakes. And so that's what I'm trying to do with the retail investors. I'm just trying to help people understand like what they're looking at. Follow your DD. And like if I had had conviction, I would have made I'm talking about like that. I would have made probably $350,000 off that options play that I was doing. And instead I lost like 130,000. And that was a huge swing play for me that I completely botched. It was years ago, but like I will always remember that. So I try to make sure that I share this kind of stuff with people. Like if you know the DD, if you know what's gonna, deep down, like you know that you're onto something, you got to stick with your convictions, and you just have to ignore the price and just know that they're going to manipulate it to get as many people out as they can before they actually have to do something. So and what's your price target this week? I mean, it's going to be hopefully up. Like I said, I think I just showed, I'll do it one last time and then I'm going to go. But at this point right now, I expect another wave to come up here and probably retouch this like 720 something. Do we make a little bit higher than that? But basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for higher lows, and it's going to start coming through until basically this is the culmination right here. On the 5th, when we have earnings, that something's going to happen by then. And we're going to either just fly up or we're going to get shorted down, and then we're going to have more pressure. And then we're going to load in probably this range around here. But by the 20th, something major is going to happen, because either they're going to keep us down here, but the entire option chain is going to get locked up, or we're already going to be flying. And so, you're going to be looking at stuff up here. Where you come down and then you are running up. So it won't be a straight line, and it's not going to be easy. Like, it's going to be very probably stressful to hold on to this. But if if it does make a run, something like that, people are going to make a lot of money. So thanks for the DD. Been around since August. Thanks for the hard work. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Bull week, let's go. Educated retail. Yeah, I mean, there's a saying that education is the great equalizer. And I truly believe that's one of the most profound things that you can honestly do, is if you can learn and better your lives. Like, this is something that if you learn the stock market and you learn how to trade, you can really change your lives. And that's the honest truth. So this is a skill that's worth investing some time into and learning how to not get tripped out. So, all right, I'm finally off now. Thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with me. And I will see you guys in the Discord, and then probably tomorrow evening. All right, have a great one.